Hi, welcome to this episode of Snapshots of the Full. This time we're bringing two cards, neither of which I have on hand, so there's going to be a lot of voiceover and displaying on the screen for you, but that's okay. The first card is from the Women of Science Tarot deck with artist Matteo Farinella. The second card is from the Mermaid's Tarot, author Lisa Robertson and artist Dillon. Now the reason we're using these two cards is to compare them. Both of them are from the Rider-Waite-Smith tradition. We'll recognise some of the symbology that we've already explored in earlier episodes of this. But they're quite different. One is from the science background and one is from mythology. So what is it that's bringing the two together, and why would we be comparing them? It's that they're both the same theme. They both depict the fall emerging from the sea onto the land. So, here goes. The first fall from the Women of Science Tarot deck shows an animal with 4 fins and a tail lying partially submerged in the water. A bit of research later and we learned our fall most closely resembles a tiktaalik, otherwise known as a fisherpod. The pod part of its name refers to its rudimentary feet or limbs, which it used to pull itself from the water and cross land. The tiktaalik lived 375 million years ago, and science has identified it as the intermediary stage linking fish with tetrapods, or the 4-legged land animals which include humans. That is, with our 4 limbs of arms and legs. So we are looking directly into the past at our ancestor in this full card. The Women of Science deck is a card game entwined with tarot, using symbology based on the Rider-Waite-Smith method. I looked for the familiar Rider-Waite-Smith symbols of the staff, bag, well-dressed and prepared fool, a cliff face or other obvious risks that we can see, and of course the spirit companion. And I ran into a problem. The dragonflies are the obvious and only choice for the spirit companion, but there are 2 of them. The staff is missing, and so is the bag, and the gentle edge of the water doesn't really replace a dangerous cliff face. So I headed off down a rabbit hole looking for artistic clues that might explain why this fall is so difficult to read. Yet I know it's based on the traditional Rider-Waite-Smith structure. I knew that dragonflies have been around since prehistoric times, although ancient versions were considerably bigger and scarier than the ones we love to see in our gardens. I also knew that dragonflies are particularly efficient predators, as their wings can be maneuvered independently in flight, giving them precision and the ability to hover. That predatory agility isn't really what we expect from a companion spirit animal, and because there are 2 of them, it opens a question whether the tiktaalik is making a conscious choice about the dragonflies and considering leaving the water to chase them down for food. In this logic path, evolution would support our fall by adding agility and speed to the toolkit, but given the newness of these little thin feet and the weight of the body, that skill seems a bit premature. Also, that kind of predatory competition isn't the relationship we normally associate with the fool and their spirit companion. I'd taken a wrong turn somewhere. I looked for the bag and staff, but nothing there. It then occurred to me that the tiktaalik's body provides the physical attributes that it needs for its journey onto land. There are gills on top of its head that evolved to help it breathe in the lower oxygenation of warm and shallow water. It has a strong rib cage to support its low bulk to the ground, under the higher gravity of the water's edge and on land. Its fins are evolving into feet with separated toes and wrists for flexible movement. It has an unfish-like neck, which allows it to look around, and it has sharp teeth. I looked at the Tiktaalik eye, which seems very human-like, and had me wondering whether the companion animal was actually the future human spirit hidden within. Once we know the connection between this foal and tetrapods, we recognize ourselves in our long-ago ancestor and feel grateful that it crawled out of the water and allowed us to exist. But this rabbit hole didn't feel right either, although it was an interesting tunnel to explore. The human spirit belongs to humans, and in the era of this fall, there was no such thing as human spirit, and we had no place here. This brought me to experience something of an epiphany about the Fool card, and perhaps why it is numbered 0, in that the Fool represents life without number, as it manifests in one state or another. All the other cards in the major arcana are numbered and tell us something about the human journey, but the Fool card represents all forms of life in the world, or perhaps even the universe. You can see it was quite a major rabbit hole that I visited that time. Eventually I abandoned this line of thinking, or rather parked it for another time. The other Fool was calling for attention at this point, and as we'll see shortly, the Mermaid is simpler and much closer to the Rider-Waite-Smith format. In this card we see our Mermaid Fool walking out of the sea and onto a beach. Her fishtail has separated into legs, allowing her to leave her natural environment and onto land in search of adventure. She's strong, beautiful, healthy, young, blonde, humanoid, from the waist up anyway, and walking upright just like any respectable human-featured, two-legged, two-armed tetrapod. The iridescence of her fish scale-covered legs suggest her reason for leaving may be a journey of self-discovery, to learn more about herself and who or what she is, and whether she fits in with the human species. In metaphorical terms, iridescence symbolizes the quest for self-knowledge, self-awareness, and self-reflection. Perhaps self-discovery is the purpose for the Mermaid Fool's adventure as she sets out onto dry land. Let's assume she's one of mythology's merfolk, who can change back to her natural form at will, and that she spent time observing us from the safety of the water before deciding to pay us a visit. Her fish skin may be well concealed inside the bag. When comparing the challenge involved in identifying the traditional Rider-Waite-Smith symbolism between our two Fool cards, it's much easier to read the Mermaid card. She has the traditional staff and bag with her, and a childlike innocence that resonates from every part of her being. The Tiktaalik, on the other hand, has none of this familiarity and appeal. In fact, it's not very attractive, or even vaguely humanoid, and it more closely aligns with the fishiness of the mermaid than it does to us, despite the direct genetic connection to us. We have to look deeper than superficial physical appearances to join the dots. The mermaid, remember, is probably only a myth. We can make some assumptions about what occurred before and why each of our fools embarked on their journey from sea to land. The Tiktaalik fool is a victim of circumstance. The climate and physical environment is changing, and the Tiktaalik has little choice but to change with it or go extinct. It carries no tools other than what it has learned from experience in the deeper water and the physical attributes that have naturally evolved to this point in time. Necessity is driving it out of the water, leaving the well-known risks behind and providing no information about the possible risks it faces. The survival instinct is the driving force inspiring this fool, not a sense of adventure or free will. It's only much later when we humans exercised our brilliant curiosity and innate drive to research and understand that we now recognise how successful and vital to us the Tiktaalik Fool's journey turned out to be. The mermaid, on the other hand, appears prepared for her journey. We don't know when her tail divided into legs, and we don't know what prompted her to leave the water, but her whole persona radiates good health and excitement, so her motivation seems likely to be a personal choice. If she's the kind of mermaid who can change at will, then legend suggests that she's hidden her magical fish skin in her bag. To the best of her ability, she's also reasonably well informed about achieving her goal and has chosen accordingly. As for the Tiktaalik, the water's edge is calm and gentle, so we don't see a cliff that she can obviously fall from. She's chosen a lovely day on an empty beach, so she has a clear view of what's around. And it's the kind of day when humans will come to the beach in a happy and relaxed mood, ready to enjoy the sunshine and playtime in the water, her world. As with the Tiktaalik, the traditional Rider-Waite-Smith dog isn't present on the mermaid card, but there are spirits present and guiding both our fools. Dr. T pointed me back to the dragonfly and the metaphorical meanings that multiple cultures across the globe have assigned to these amazing insects. Dragonflies represent transformation, adaptability, change, and self-realization. So, staying true to the snapshots of the full path, I was back on track to search for the familiar Rider-Waite-Smith companion spirit animal and consider how it's communicating with our fools. In the Women of Science card, we see two dragonflies, one slightly behind the Tiktaalik's head and the other heading off to one side. I interpreted this as spirit urging the fool onto the land, away from their known risks that lurked below the water and into new territory. Dragonflies remind us to live life to the full and in the moment. And in this scenario, our fool has no choice. And we've already seen that evolutionary necessity is pushing the fool forwards. The dragonfly spirit is behind the Tiktaalik's head, urging it forward onto the land. I mentioned the two dragonflies, and in tarot the number 2 symbolises either a fork in the road, a choice, or a decision. The second dragonfly has headed off to the side as though it's on a different path or a separate evolutionary path. The mermaid's spirit companion is her bag, enjoying a pogo ride on her fish-tailed staff and bouncing ahead of her to lead the way. This is different from any fool I've seen before, with the spirit in front while the fool follows. The mermaid's arms are extended and her palms facing up, indicating that she's weaponless and spiritually open. And I think this is part of her preparation in understanding the new world she's entering. It's important to her that despite her stature and strength, she doesn't wish to intimidate, so she's making an effort to bring nothing fierce or warlike with her into the new world. The spirit bag supports her attitude with a facial expression resembling a smiley face emoji. It didn't take me a lot of rabbit-holing to discover something new, to me anyway, in the symbolism of the spirit. I realized that the smiley face emoji conveys a message between humans that we come in peace, or that our intention isn't to cause offence or harm, irrespective of what's actually been said. I couldn't think of any other modern cross-cultural symbol that conveys the same instant message, so I gained a new respect for the power of the smiley face and the preparation by our mermaid fool's spirit guide. The spirit companion in the form of a bag suggests the fool is ready to exchange value for value and perhaps go shopping. The pogo stick implies childish fun, and its use by the spirit bag for independent transport takes away any suggestion the mermaid has come to claim dominion over the land. She's not touching the stick, so the worst risk we can see in this setting is that the spirit bag might tumble off the stick and fall into the water or soft sand. Altogether, the mermaid fool approaches humanity with an open mind, a kind heart, a joyful spirit, and a sense of childlike wonder at the magical world that lies ahead. But, unfortunately, we know better than that, and that the Rider-Waite-Smith fool faces risk equal to the tumble from the edge of a precipice. Both our fools faced very different but equally dangerous challenges in stepping onto dry land. The Tiktaalik is only partially prepared for its journey. Science suggests one reason Tiktaalik may have left the water was environmental pressure when climatic changes brought drought, and as one pool began to dry up, this fool was motivated to leave its familiar home and crawl across the land in search of more water. Ideally, the life choices we make should be well informed and lead us at any moment to a beneficial outcome where our needs are met and we're safe. If for any reason we, as a fool, have no previous experience or understanding of the risks we face in a changed environment, but change is compelling and necessary, then we have little choice. The urgency displayed by the dragonfly spirit companion in prompting the Tiktaalik to adapt isn't always seen in the Rider-Waite-Smith symbology. We either stay put and take our chances with disaster or extinction, or we trust our instincts for survival and move forward. Spirit is there always, encouraging and guiding us forward, so it pays for us to tune in and listen. At the least, the risks we face are uncertainties, and the mistakes we will make will be new ones. Taking risks and making mistakes is how we learn, how we evolve. Like dragonflies, the mermaid's legs are iridescent and can appear different colours depending on the quality and angle of surrounding light, which is a helpful survival tool in fish and dragonflies. As with fish, the mermaid shines in the sunlight, but she's harder to see in the dark. At this point, she's standing in clear sight with all her colours lit up for anyone to see. And this is where the shadow comes out to balance the light. The major risk to the mermaid in revealing herself this clearly comes from us, from human society. The interactions between merfolk and humans have been based on deceit, entrapment, and death on both sides. The mermaid may genuinely come in peace, but human society may not be ready to receive her in the same way. Based on our history and inclinations, how will we treat her when she arrives? Will we allow her to move freely among us without capture and abuse? Will we welcome and exchange values and benefits with her? Will we be interested in where she came from and take care of her world should she want to return home? Will we learn from her and respectfully allow her to learn whatever she wants from us? Will she be safe? The Rider-Waite-Smith fool, the mermaid, appears carefree and innocent, if perhaps somewhat ill-prepared and foolhardy. She hasn't understood the risk that stepping onto land has meant for her, and it will be a massive adventure into self-discovery that she undertakes. Whether the outcome achieves her goal, or she is finally overwhelmed and flees back to the sea, remains to be seen. Hopefully, she keeps spirit in front of her and follows her intuition about what she needs to do to remain safe. The Tiktaalik appears hesitant and careful, lying only partially out of the water and only forced forward out of necessity. Unlike the mermaid, this fool has made no conscious preparations nor choices for the journey, so it is truly an innocent with pure intentions. The mermaid, moving forward by choice, appeals to us through her purity and innocence. But like the Tiktaalik, she either doesn't understand the risks or has, perhaps, misread or underestimated the threat. So in summary, what type of fools do these cards represent? Both of them emerge from the deep waters and gift us an insight into our human nature. We see where we fit into the natural world through the Tiktaalik, and we see how we express our relationship with others who share our world through the mermaid. These fools both invite us to look deeply into ourselves and also remember that everything isn't all about us. The Tiktaalik went through its adventure long before its DNA had iterated enough times to draw us out of the gene pool. The experiences and risks that it had to face were just as real to that fool as they are to us, now that we're facing changes in the environment that are forcing us to move. Spirit is urging us on from behind and showing us we can take a different path. The mermaid is a myth that has no scientific basis in the physical realm, but speaks to us from our subconscious world of stories and our conscience as co-creators of our human reality. It may be that our mermaid fool can return to the sea as healthy and happy as she arrived, carrying a wealth of knowledge and new ideas back to the depths to share with her own kind. That depends on, of course, on whether the environmental conditions are still good for her and all the other creatures that live below the waves. Our relationship with Spirit isn't simply a guardianship role on their side on our behalf. We have some responsibilities too in taking care that the natural balance is maintained. Otherwise, nature will sort things out, as she always does, and she may very well decide to leave us behind. Exploring the risks faced by the imaginary mermaid fool card pointed me towards a deep, dark rabbit hole labelled the human spirit and the society we have created. But I decided not to go down, not this time. So I made a well-informed choice and stepped back from the entrance to stay in the light. This is unfamiliar territory for a rabbit like me, and I'm uncertain about any new risks this change will bring. This choice is a tool that is immensely powerful for any fool, and my spirit guide is telling me this is the way to go. In closing, whether the fool is a fish out of water by choice or circumstance, whether the risks are social or environmental, whether Spirit is urging us on from behind or leading the way, there is always a way forward. Thank you.